Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Battle for Azeroth pre-patch. I wanted to make a state of for Affliction Warlock. My other state of videos were more class reviews because I was in beta. And then I just added my thoughts in. So I wanted to focus more on just a spec. That was more my original intent, was to do class reviews when appropriate, do overall appropriate reviews and topics, if you will, while focusing on the smaller minor changes as things progress within the game. So I played Affliction for most of Legion, and I've played it for all of the pre-patch. So far I've done all the quest chain up till now, the pre-event quest chain as Affliction, done some PvP and things like that. So I feel like I've played enough to give my thoughts on it. So first of all, we've lost two things to get the removed abilities out of the way. We lost Mana Tap, which a lot of people, I think, already knew that was kind of the thing everybody was talking about that played a Warlock. And the thing I noticed when I started playing is we lost our Doomguard and Infernal. Yeah, I know. I'm kind of sad because since I've played Warlock, which was end of Miss Pandora, kind of in Warlords, you always had the Infernal as your default pet if you took the talents. So I've been kind of playing around. I don't know anybody that uses Imp. Once you get another demon and you're leveling, yeah. Voidwalker's your take, so Voidwalker would be the logical choice. However, I always preferred Felhunter. I just always liked this. And Felhunter never really had a specific purpose, as far as I know. It's not like Voidwalker was a tank, everybody knows that. This Felhunter didn't. Felhunter's never really had a specific role, as it were. And you get a spell interrupt, or you get a counter spell basically. So, however, being that I have War Mode turned on, Succubus has been doing rather well. So she charms NPCs as well as players. So yeah, just kind of been playing around, seeing what works, what doesn't, or just not even, if I don't already have a pet out, I tend to just go charging ahead without that one. I'm bad at pet classes because I don't like relying on having a pet. So, yeah. If we look through the spells, we got Drain Life back. Works pretty much as I remember it working before. Shadow Fury is baseline on all three specs now. This is... I don't think this is a very good spell. 1 minute cooldown for a 3-second stun. And what it doesn't tell you is that it's a targeted 3-second spell with a 1 minute cooldown. So I've seen people use this more in PvP, probably, because it's baseline now. I never took this as when it was a talent. I just don't like it. I just don't think it's very good. So I was kind of glad it was baseline so they could put something else in the talents. I guess if you wanted to look on the bright side of it. Yeah. We lost our Doomguard and Infernal, as I said, we got Summoned Dark Glare, which, if memory serves, was a demonology talent that used to, at that time, the way I remember it working was that it would focus targets that had your Doom on them. Doom being the... maybe not. Doom being your big dot as demonology. And I remember having trouble coordinating between getting, spamming Doom and trying to get this out on its cooldown. So it was a bit strange for me. I don't remember liking it all that much. For Affliction, however, it extends the duration of your damage over time abilities while doing damage itself based on how many dots you have active. So it actually works pretty good. I forget I have it because I'm not used to summoning something on a cooldown like I am with Disc Priest with their Shadow Fiend Mindbender if you take the talent. So far the only thing I can really say as a criticism is I wish it was out longer. 8 seconds is not. How long does this stay out? Overtime effects on all enemies by 8 seconds. For 20 seconds. So, yeah, I find that I've used it. I haven't really noticed a difference in PvP per se. What I was thinking was in World PvP, I've used it. And it does really well. And then, right when you're getting to the point of finishing your opponent off, it disappears. So maybe either increase the how long it's out or reduce the cooldown. Maybe one of those two. So I'm kind of excited. As I said, I'm absent-minded enough that I forget I have it. When I have used it, it seems really good. So, and that's pretty much it as far as talents go, or spells, I should say. As far as talent, Drained Soul is a talent now. This is probably my biggest criticism, or my biggest two criticisms of Affliction and Warlock. With Affliction, with Drained Soul not healing, it's not quite as good as it was before. this is what I didn't like about Warlock before, which you have Drain Soul and then you have Drain Life. One, channeled ability is fine. Two is when, again, it turns into kind of a coordination problem. I never used Drain Soul or Drain Life before. Drain Soul's always been the better of the two as far as I can remember. When I've needed healing, I've started using Drain Life once or twice. It has twice the mana cost as Drain Soul, so you do have to be careful. Haven't noticed any issues with mana, so I don't really know that losing mana tap was a big deal. I haven't raided though. That's the only exception I would say to that. I haven't raided, so I don't know exactly how useful it was in raiding. I never really used it before. Questing I've done fine. PvP I've done fine. So, yeah, I think not healing. It replaces Shadow Bolt. Shadow Bolt does, when I was playing around, I think it was like 700 damage. So it does quite a bit more than Shadow Bolt. Death Bolt, again, I've kind of got enough spells. I don't need anything else. Nightfall, I thought might be good. That's why I was kind of playing around, and then I realized how much less damage Shadow Bolt did. So I took Drain Soul back again. It's not a bad spell. It would just be better if they put the healing back. So I used to be able to go one-on-one in Battlegrounds with melee classes or other range classes, and it's a little bit of a I guess drawback, if you want to, for lack of a better word. So then I was thinking, so then I took Siphon Life next, and just kind of set everything up in general how I had it before, just to kind of have a starting point. And I thought, okay, well, Siphon Life heals me, so I should be fine. This is, again, it seems like there's a drawback with this not healing now. It's kind of where I keep coming back to. This is such a, whenever you have a channeled ability, very, very similar to Mistweaver monks and Soothing Mist. Anytime you have a channeled ability, you're basically, to a lesser or greater extent, you're basically setting up your rotation around that channeled ability. So for Affliction, I would get my dots out and then just spam Drain Soul unless I was reapplying something, or putting out, an AoE or something like that. More often than not, you're going to be using Drain Soul. So it's while it's not the end of the world they took the healing away, it definitely does change things a little bit. Yeah. So I thought, well, Siphon Soul heals, so I should be fine if I spam this. This has no cooldown, so that you can spam this along with your other damage over time spells, and that's how I think of Warlock. Is the term dot pressure does have some meaning. I want to do as much damage as possible, so their healers have to work as much as possible. I want to make their healers work as much as I can. So you know, being a little disappointed in the healing of this, I thought, okay, maybe if I took Absolute Corruption or Wrathy in Agony, Writhe in Agony, which it seems like I had both of these at one time. They've moved spells around, so I don't remember for sure. It seemed like I did, or maybe one of these was a I think Rise in Agony was a PvP talent, maybe. I thought, well, maybe if I take like Absolute Corruption, I can put Drain Life where Siphon Life is. Then I was thinking that I was like, well, no, because Siphon Life is still a dot. If I put another channeled ability here, you can only channel one ability at a time. If you have a spell here that you're not using all the time, then you're kind of losing out on damage and healing, for that matter. So for the time being, I'm just going with this. I'm thinking of ways to improve things, though, if there is, and I don't know what the way that things are if there is. And then at max level in Battle for Azeroth with a different set of gear, it might be fine too. The numbers, you have to expect some influx in the numbers. Right now we are high. We are max level geared for Legion. We will be under geared in Battle for Azeroth, so to speak. So I expect to do most of my PvP at max levels, so I will see what wait and see what the numbers are. 1,600 is not bad damage from what I'm seeing. A lot of spells are under 1,000 now. So this isn't terrible. And 30% of the damage you deal is not awful. So I took Demon Skin because it's objectively the best of these three. It's a passive and it recharges passively. So why wouldn't you? For PvP, this is I think probably definitely the best. Burning Rush is okay. You generally don't want your health going down, though. When I started playing Warlock in, or I should say, I remember, well, end of Mist, beginning of Warlords, beginning mid of Warlords. When I was still somewhat new to Warlock, everybody took Burning Rush. It turned green if you did the fail fire quest lines. I think that was part of the reason. Now less so. They're picking. I'm noticing Warlocks are picking other things over this. So the movement speed increase is good. The fact that it drains your life to do it is less good, obviously. Especially in PvP. You generally don't want your health going down. I can't run the flag with this, so there's really no practical benefit to taking this for a PvP setup. And that's what most of this is PvP slash general damage. So I've like I said, I've quested with this and it's fine. So I think they've kind of, I think with them removing the PvP talents, it seems like, or reducing them to what we have here, it seems like they've taken a little bit of a step back in terms of you have your PvE talents and your PvP talents, so you can kind of set things up to do both a little bit. Dark Pack I took when I first started playing Warlock. Again, it sacrifices your health, which isn't ideal. This was the default choice for this was in a different place then. And this was the default choice. I could see this being good. I could see both of these being good, like in PvE or something. In raids, I know I've seen Warlocks take Burning Rush. Just for what I'm doing, if I can take a passive that recharges on its own, then I'm going to do that. That's more. I want to just kind of run through a rotation and have everything work kind of on its own passively as it's supposed to. So Phantom Singularity. When I looked up back in Legion, when I looked up what to take when this was in a different, I think this was like 1 spot down, 2 spots down. When I was looking to see what to take for that tier, this was the default choice for PvP. It's you could use it overall in whatever you were doing. It's by no means limited to just PvP. It works really, really well for what it does. It works similar to a Siphon Life, but it's all AoE. And it heals you well. So between these two, to kind of finish my thought out, this is 55% of the damage done coming back is healing. And there's a minor, I notice it in the most minor way that this does not heal. That Drain Soul does not heal. So that was kind of the other thing I was taking into account when I was thinking about swapping out Siphon Life is, well, Siphon Life and Phantom Singularity. They do both heal, so you kind of have a little bit of stacking heal. And then you do, of course, have your health stones. So Affliction has more than other classes in terms of healing. So the Seeds is you're not always guaranteed to have an additional target nearby, so the usefulness of this is going to vary. I don't like that. I want to know I can almost always, especially with a passive, I want to know that I'm going to be able to almost always use it. Veil Tint is targeted abilities. I have a love-hate relationship with. I don't mind them so much as a healer. As a DPS, to me, it's inconvenient, I guess would be the simplest way to put it. As a tank, I kind of go back and forth. It depends on what it is. When you had to use, I remember starting out on my Death Knight, and at that time, Death and Decay was tied with your threat generation. So you had to put it out when you pulled anything, and it was inconvenient. Now that it's not, it's more of kind of an optional use when need be thing. It's not so bad. You have other abilities that you can pull mobs with, and then put it down to help keep them on you, so they don't run off and attack your DPS or your healer. So plus it's awfully close to a Hunter's Tar Trap, even with the fact that it does damage. Phantom you can apply to a target, and it doesn't matter if they're standing by themselves or they're in a mob. it's gonna work. And if they're if there's a enemy that's running into, say, your flag room, if you can catch up to them enough to put this on them, if they run in, anybody they stand next to, this is going to do damage to. So this is far better, in my opinion, than the other two. I could see Sow the Seeds maybe being good in raiding. Again, haven't raided much with this, so I'm not sure. I'm just going off what I've seen in Legion raids. Demonic Circle. This is where I differ from other Warlocks. I took this just so I was a little more versatile. Thinking about Temple of Kotumungu. If you get the orb, you put this down before you jump in mid. You jump in mid, you start getting attacked, you teleport out while they're running around, you jump back in mid. I mean, you can dominate with this. I have in several games. If you're guarding a base, you put this in a house around a corner. When you need to heal, you teleport, you heal, you have a little bit of an element of surprise. It's quite versatile, much like the monk's transcendence is. A lot of, I would say, most warlocks take Mortal Coil. I don't like this because I think the cooldown's too long. That's what I remember. It's a stun and a heal, which separately are good. Together, I go back and forth. My big thing is that it only targets one enemy or one target, and I feel like the cooldown's too long. Those were my two complaints when I've used this before. Very short term when I have used this before, just playing around. Dark Fury for Shadow Fury could be good. As I said, I don't really think Shadow Fury's good. So again, I think this might be one of those talents that might be better in raiding. When you know there's going to be other people around and you're going to have time to do things. So yeah, I'm seeing more warlocks take Demonic Circle. So Shadow Embrace. This was a bit of a weird tier. Since as far back as I can remember, since I've been playing Warlock, there's always been one tier that had 3 Grimoire talents. I forgot we even had Haunt, or used to have Haunt, until I saw this. So this was a bit of a strange one for me to kind of look over. Shadow Embrace does extra damage with Drained Soul. Drained Soul applies Shadow Embrace, increasing your damage down to 3%. It's stacking up 3 times. So now that this doesn't heal, you want it to do as much damage as possible. So this, to me, was the default choice. Haunt could be good. Abilities that increase the damage you do, I'm not coordinated with. My thought is just to go through just to start doing damage. It's not, oh, I have to apply this so I do more damage. And I'm just not, I'm just not coordinated with these kind of abilities. I wasn't with Hunter's Mark either. I didn't like using a spell that, and with Hunter's Mark didn't do damage. It just increased the damage you did. I don't like abilities. I feel like if I don't apply it, I'm not doing as much damage, and then it 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 messes with my focus and my coordination with things. With affliction, you put out one or all of your dots. You know they're going to do something, and you know they're going to do the most damage they can do. Um, I didn't mind Reap Souls. It's kind of the same thing. With Reap Souls, much like with Death Strike, for Blood Death Knight, you just wait for your stacks to get so high. That I have no problem with, because you don't have to constantly keep focus and doing something. Reap Souls went up to 12 stacks, if I remember correctly. And you could use it before that and get a pretty significant increase. With something like this, it has a cooldown. So I would be thinking, okay, I need to use it like on a healer or on a flag carrier or something, and then I would try to be more careful using it, and then I would just stop using it altogether. That's happened once or twice with abilities. Grimoire of Sacrifice, I have two thoughts with this. One, I just don't like abilities that sacrifice your demon. Why would to me this and Death Pack are very similar. You're sacrificing health with Death Pack. You're sacrificing your demon with Grimoire of Sacrifice. I know a lot of people took this in Warlords for some reason over having a Infernal. You already get the ability with Command Demon. It's the same ability. All Grimoire of Sacrifice does is maybe give you a chance to do extra damage. That's it. So I personally don't really know how useful this is, unless you are trying to, as a marksman, ship hunter, there's a little bit of an incentive not to have a pet out. You do more damage if you don't have a pet out. If you summon a pet, okay, fine, no big deal. It's not really upsetting your gameplay too much. With this, if you summon your demon, you're taking away a base amount of damage. Plus however frequently, whatever the rate is that it does that damage. So, I don't like that. I don't like having those kind of variables. I want to know what something is going to do. Like with for another example, with incantators flow with I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. For mage, it starts at a base amount and passively stacks up, and then decreases passively as well. But there's going to be one of two base amounts. You know what the lowest amount is, and you know what the highest amount is. So, and you're constantly getting some kind of a increase. It's just a matter of degree at that point. If I'm in PvP and I am one-on-one, or I am trying to kill a flag carrier, I want to know what damage I'm going to do. That's kind of the way I think of spells like this. I don't know if that's looking at it the right way. Plus, in PvP, I want Succubus out. That's the thing. You're kind of. I could see if you're requesting, okay, fine. Maybe in raids, okay, fine. For PvP though, I want Succubus out. So, or I want a Fail Hunter out if I want a counter spell. So I just don't see this as being very, very useful. I'll say Haunt I could see being useful if you maybe didn't, if you had one or two less spells down here. If you swapped Siphon Life with Absolute Corruption, you could take Haunt, sure. I'm happy with the rotation I have and the abilities I have. I don't feel like I'm missing anything. So I feel like adding in Haunt would be trying to force something in there that would just be disruptive to my, like I said, my play style, and then I would be trying to, and I know this from, it was like Sniper Shot or something like that. It was a PvP ability for hunters, and it did something very similar. It did damage, and then it increased the damage that you did, and I was always, it messed up my, if I started attacking something and for whatever reason I didn't hit it first, then I felt like I messed up and I wasn't doing as much damage as I should be, and it just, it was just disruptive. So when I say I have problems with coordinating certain abilities, that is what I mean. I don't remember using this that much when it was a baseline ability for Affliction. I want to say I remember it being an AoE ability before. I could be wrong. That's one of those details I'm not sure of. So Shadow Embrace is fine. It does something. All I have to do, Demon Skin and Shadow Embrace are very similar in that all I have to do is just run through my normal rotation, and then the passives just do what they're supposed to do. So that's the way I like to have it set up. That's why I said I'm happy with the rotation I have. So yeah. So my legendary gives me Soul Conduct. Every time a soul shard you spend has a 15% chance to be refunded. The only two abilities I have that use soul shards are Unstable Affliction and Seed of Corruption, and I tend to use these sparingly. Meaning, I want it, when I use them, I want it to be worthwhile. So, I don't really have any trouble with soul shards. I want to say this was my default at one point, either in Legion or before I got the legendary. I'm not sure. I don't honestly remember what I had chosen for this tier. Normally in Legion, I will say your legendaries used to deactivate, so I would lose this. Right now, that's not happening, so it's a nice little extra talent for sure. Creeping Death, your Agony, Corruption, Siphon Life, and Unstable Affliction deal their full damage 15% faster. So that by far would be. I was torn between these two. Unstable Affliction is really good. So is Seed of Corruption. Seed of Corruption and Phantom can do a lot of damage together. I try to get them out together. Doesn't always work.